My heels were clicking on that cold marble floor. 8 p.m., and the whole building was empty, just that dim security light hummin'. But I was smilin', holding onto that thermal bag for dear life. Had his favorite short ribs inside. My husband, Marcus, see? He'd been working non-stop. Stressed over some big case. I just wanted to bring my man a hot plate, make him smile. I'd ordered him from the very restaurant I was supposed to open myself. See, 20 years ago, I took every dime my folks left me, and I poured it into his first law office. My dream of a little soul food bistro, I put that on the shelf. I told myself, when he's on his feet, it'll be my turn. 20 years is a long time to wait. I turned his corner. Davis and Associates. That shiny brass plaque. Our office. I was surprised to see his door cracked open. Warm light spilled out. But what stopped me dead in my tracks was the sound. Not no keyboard. Not no conference call. It was a giggle. A young woman's giggle. The kind that ain't got no business being in an office at 8 p.m. My heart started knocking against my ribs. I pushed the door, and my whole world just ended. It was Keisha, my son Malik's fiancée, the woman I was about to call my daughter. She was perched up on his mahogany desk. My desk, the one I picked out. Her skirt was hiked up, and Marcus, my husband, was standing between her legs. His hands all over her waist, and they were kissin'. Not no peck. They were kissin'. Tongues, devouring each other. The only sound in the universe was the clatter. I'd dropped the bag. Short ribs and gravy splattered all over that expensive Persian rug. They jumped. Keisha's eyes wide, her mouth still wet. Marcus, he looked sick, guilty, and mad all at once. Imani, he started. But I couldn't hear him. The blood was rushing too loud in my ears. I don't even remember leaving that building. Don't remember driving. It was all just a blur of red lights and hot, angry tears. I ended up in some cheap motel 20 miles from my own home. The room smelled like stale cigarettes and bleach. I just sat on the edge of that stiff bed, my hands shaking. That feeling, it wasn't just hurt. It was too nasty. A betrayal so deep it felt like it was in my bones. Marcus. The man I'd loved since I was 19. The man I'd built a life with. And Keisha. Sweet, little orphan Keisha that Malik brought home. Now all I could see was her hand on my husband's chest. The shock came first, then the pain that rips your soul apart. And then something else. Something cold. Rage. All them red flags I ignored came flooding back. Marcus's emergency trips, his late nights. He used to tell me every detail of his day. Now, all I got was, I'm tired, Manny. And Keisha. Always touching his arm a little too long. Oh, Papa Marcus, you look so handsome, she'd say, her voice dripping with honey. I just thought she was being sweet. I remember smelling her perfume. That loud, heavy tuberose all over his suit jacket last week. What's that smell? I asked, just casual. He ain't even look up from his phone. New client. She's a hugger. You know how they are. And I bought it. Lord, I bought it. Because trust in him was easier than seeing the truth. I got up, walked to that motel bathroom, looked at the woman in the mirror. Imani Davis, 54 years old. Devoted wife, lovin' mother, and a damn fool. But a fool who was done playing the game. The tears stopped right then. A cold, hard quiet settled in my chest. This wasn't just cheatin'. This was a setup. They were playing my son, my boy, the one I worked double shifts for so he could graduate debt-free. This girl was about to ruin his life, and my husband was helping her. My mission changed. This wasn't about saving my marriage. This was about protecting my child. I drove home the next morning, acting like nothing was wrong. Sent Marcus a text. Went to Mama's. Need a minute. The house felt tainted. The air was thick with lies. I sat down at my computer. Went straight to Amazon. Miniature voice-activated recorder. I hit same-day delivery. I had to know. I had to know why. This was my secret weapon. The package came at 4 p.m. Plain brown box. I planted one right under his desk in the study, tucked another one behind a stack of his old law books. My hands weren't even shaken no more. I was focused. I just finished when the front door opened. It was Marcus and Keisha. They came in together. I hurried into the kitchen, tried to play it cool. My heart was banging against my chest like a trapped bird. "Imani, you're back," Marcus said, his voice all tight and fake. "Ma, we were just about to call you," Keisha chirped, smiling all bright. I looked right into her lion eyes, wondering how I missed the snake hiding behind them. "What is it?" I asked. My voice was ice. They looked at each other. That look. A conspirator's look. "We got the best news," Keisha said. She grabbed Malik's hand as he came down the stairs. "My son." His face was lit up with this pure, stupid joy that just about broke my heart. "Ma," he said, his voice shaken with excitement. "You're gonna be a grandma. Keisha's pregnant." The room started spinning. Pregnant, of course. A baby. The ultimate trap. But before I could even fix my face to fake a smile, the phone in my pocket buzzed. A notification. The recorder. Audio detected. They'd gone into the study for privacy. I ducked into the powder room, pulled out my phone, and put in my earbuds. My blood ran cold. I heard the study door click shut, then whispers. It was Keisha's voice. All that fake sweetness gone. "Are you sure she ain't suspect nothin'? She was gone all day yesterday." And then, my husband's voice. Cold, calculated. A voice I ain't never heard before. "It doesn't matter if she suspects," he said. "It's too late. The other plan is already in motion." The other plan? I leaned against the cold tile of the powder room, my hand pressed to my mouth. The other plan. What in God's name was the other plan? My mind was racing. This wasn't just about them creeping. This was bigger, colder. This was a conspiracy. I heard Malik call my name. "Ma? You okay in there?" His voice, still so full of that stupid happy joy. It felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I splashed cold water on my face, looked in the mirror at my own hollow eyes. "Get it together, Imani," I whispered. "Your son needs you." I walked back out into the living room, trying to force a smile onto my face that felt like cracked porcelain. "A baby," I said, my voice sounding thin and strange to my own ears. That's wonderful news, son." Malik rushed over and hugged me tight. He was shaken with excitement. "I knew you'd be happy, Ma." I hugged him back, feeling like Judas. I looked over his shoulder. Marcus and Keisha were watching me, smiling, like two snakes in a den, pleased with themselves. "So, it's settled," Marcus said, clapping his hands together like a damn game show host. "With the baby on the way, we gotta move this wedding up. Immediately." Keisha chimed in, laying a delicate hand on her flat stomach. "I was thinking, next weekend, Ma. A small, intimate ceremony right here in the garden." "Next weekend?" My head snapped up. That's too soon," I stammered. "A wedding takes time. The deposits, the caterer. And Keisha, you're pregnant. You need to rest." The air went frigid. Keisha's face crumpled. The tears welled up instantly, a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Oh, Ma," I thought you'd be happy for us." Malik turned on me, his face flushed with anger. "Ma, what is wrong with you? Keisha's crying. This is supposed to be a happy day. Why are you trying to ruin it?" Marcus stepped in, putting a protective arm around Keisha, pulling her close. "Imani, your son is right. Stop being so selfish." He looked at me, his eyes hard. "Or is it that you just don't want to see your boy happy?" I looked at the three of them. My son, blinded by love, my husband, the puppet master, and the girl who was playing them both. They were a unit, and I was the outsider. I had the the recording sitting right there in my pocket, but I couldn't use it. If I played it now, I would destroy my son. He wasn't just losing a fiancée, he was losing a father and a child all in one blow. I had to back down. For him. "You're right," I whispered, dropping my gaze. "I'm sorry, Keisha. It's just a lot to take in. Next weekend is fine." I barely slept. That phrase, the other plan, just echoed in my head. I was trapped. I had to stop this wedding, but I was outvoted in my own home. I knew I couldn't fight this alone. I was fighting my husband and my son. I needed help. Real help. The next morning, I told him I was going to the church to book the pastor. Instead, I drove downtown, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I parked in front of the mirrored glass building. Jessica Hayes, attorney at law. Jessica ain't just a lawyer. She's my sister, friend, 30 years. She was my maid of honor when I married that snake. I sat in her plush leather chair, my hands shaken so bad I spilled coffee on her mahogany desk. Jessie, I got a problem. She looked at me over her glasses. Imani, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I couldn't even say the words. They were too ugly. I just took out my phone and my earbuds. Just listen, I said, my voice hoarse. I watched her face. She listened to the whispers from my study. Her eyes went from confusion to pity to pure, cold fury. She took the earbuds out, her movements slow and deliberate. She was quiet for a long time. Imani, she said, her voice dangerously calm. This ain't just divorce. This is conspiracy to commit fraud. What in the hell, she said, is the other plan? I don't know, I whispered, the tears finally coming back. Jessie, I'm trapped. They're getting married next weekend. He's gonna let my son raise his baby. Jessica turned to her computer. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The hell they are. You said Malik gave you her info for the wedding insurance, right? She asked. Yeah. Her social, her full name, Keisha Taylor. Well, let's find out who the hell Miss Keisha Taylor really is. The printer in the corner hummed. Jessica pulled out the paper. She stared at it. Imani, she said, her voice tight. When did Keisha tell you she was orphaned? Years ago, I said. Her parents died in a car crash when she was a teen. That's why I took her in. Why? Jessica turned the paper around. My eyes scanned the page. Because I just ran her social, Jessica said. And her mother is very much alive. I froze. What? That's not all, Jessica said, her eyes dark. Look at her mother's name. I read it. Brenda Davis. Davis? I whispered. My blood turned into ice. Like, my Davis? And look at her address, Jessica said. I looked. It was a house in the suburbs. A house I recognized. A house I had paid the mortgage on for 10 years. It was the house Marcus had bought for his mother. My mother-in-law. Keisha wasn't just his lover. She was his niece. She was my husband's sister's child. She was Malik's first cousin. I couldn't breathe. The printout in my hand was shaken so bad the words were blurry. Brenda Davis. 1421 Evergreen Terrace. His sister, I whispered, the words like ash in my mouth. She's his sister. Imani? What are you talking about? Jessica asked. My mother-in-law. Marcus's mother. She died 8 years ago, I said, my mind struggling to catch up. I've been paying the mortgage on that Evergreen house for years. Marcus told me it was empty. A family property he couldn't bear to sell. A memory. He's been sending your money to his sister, Jessica said, her voice flat and cold, for 10 years, and he's about to let your son marry her daughter. His own blood, I finished. My God, Jessie. He's letting Malik marry his first cousin. The room was silent. We just stared at each other, the sheer twisted sickness of it hanging in the air. This was evil. Jessica was the first to move. She was all business. Okay, this is depraved. But it's leverage. We have fraud. We have consanguinity, that's marriage between relatives. We can get this marriage annulled before it even happens. But what about the other plan? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. This can't just be about getting her married. This feels like it's about money, Jessie. I'm on it, she said, her fingers already flying across the keyboard again. I'm gonna run a full financial workup on Marcus, his firm, everything. I'm gonna find out where every dime you ever gave him went. She looked up at me, her eyes hard. "This is the hard part, Mani. I need you to go home. I need you to act normal. Plan the wedding. Smile at that girl. Don't you let them know you know anything. Act normal." How in God's name was I supposed to act normal? That night was the longest night of my life. I sat at my own dinner table, the one I'd bought with my inheritance. Keisha was showing Malik pictures of cribs on her phone, her head resting on his shoulder. "Oh, Ma, look at this one," Malik said, his face bright with that innocent joy. "Isn't it perfect? It even has a little giraffe on it." I just nodded, gripping my fork so tight my knuckles were white. "It's lovely, son." I could feel Marcus watching me. He thought he'd won. He thought my silence at dinner was acceptance, that I'd gotten over my selfish fit. He reached across the table and patted my hand. "See? Imani, I told you it would all be fine," he said, smirking at Keisha. "Imani is just being practical. She's worried about the money." "Don't you worry, baby," he said to Keisha. "The money is all taken care of." His words sent a chill right through me. What did he mean, taken care of? I waited until 2 a.m. The house was finally still. Malik was asleep. Marcus was in the guest room. He'd been sleeping there for a week, claiming he was snoring and didn't want to bother me. The lie was so obvious now. It choked me. I crept back down to the study. Back to the recorders. I had the who. Keisha was his niece. But I still didn't have the full why. What was the other plan? I put the earbuds in. I listened to that first recording again. It's too late. The other plan is already in motion. It wasn't enough. I checked the new files from that day. Hours of silence. Nothing. Had they gotten spooked? Then, click. 2:05 a.m. The study door. My blood ran cold. I heard them. Marcus and Keisha. They had snuck back downstairs together while I was upstairs, pretending to be asleep. Her voice was thick with fear. "Marcus, I'm scared. My mother, Brenda, she's scared. She called me crying. She said Imani is too smart. She said this is wrong. This is a sin. Your mother needs to relax and stick to the plan," Marcus snapped, his voice a low, vicious growl. "We are too close. In 5 days, you'll be Mrs. Malik Davis. You'll be in. Everything is lined up. But the baby," Keisha whispered. "Malik keeps talking about who it's going to look like. He looks so much like you, Marcus. What if the baby looks exactly like you?" I heard him laugh. A low, cruel sound that made my skin crawl. "Don't be stupid," he said. "He thinks he looks like me. It's the perfect cover. He'll just think the baby takes after his side of the family." He paused, and then he delivered the final, fatal blow. "He'll be so proud. He'll never know he's just raising my son." I didn't move. The earbuds dropped from my fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. My son. He wasn't just raising his cousin's baby, he was raising his father's baby. I sat there on the floor of my study, in the dark, until the gray light of dawn started creeping through the blinds. I was numb. All the pain, all the rage from the night before, it was gone, replaced by this terrible, cold emptiness. My husband was having a baby with his niece. And my son, my joy, my entire life. He was just a pawn, a fool. I didn't shower. I didn't change clothes. I got in my car. Jessica's office opened at 8. I was waiting in the lobby at 7:45. Her assistant saw the look on my face and just pointed me straight back. Jessica was on the phone, looking annoyed. "Tell him I'll call him back." She saw me and hung up mid-sentence. "Imani? What happened? You look." I didn't say a word. I just walked to her desk, took my phone out of my pocket, and handed it to her with the earbuds. "Listen," I croaked. The file from 2:05 a.m. I watched her face as she listened. I saw the professionalism drain away. I saw her jaw tighten till the muscles jumped. I saw her dark eyes turn to black ice. She took the earbuds out, placing them on the desk like they were toxic. She didn't say, "I'm sorry." She didn't say, "That's awful." She looked at me, her voice a low, dangerous hiss. I'm going to destroy him, Imani. I'm going to end him. This is biblical, she said, shaking her head. The arrogance, the stupidity, to confess on tape. I just nodded, my arms wrapped around myself. But it gets worse, Jessica said. My head snapped up. Worse? How can it possibly be worse? She turned her computer monitor toward me. It was full of spreadsheets. I ran the financials. The other plan isn't just about the baby, it's about this. She pointed to a column of red numbers. The law firm. Your law firm, she said, is a house of cards. He's been using client funds to pay old debts. He's mortgaged to the hilt. He hasn't paid payroll tax in 6 months, Imani. He's bankrupt. But how? I whispered. The cars, the suits, the vacations. Online casinos, Jessica said, her voice flat. And a loan shark, a very serious one out of Atlantic City. He's got a $500,000 marker out. They gave him 30 days to pay. She looked at me. That was 26 days ago. My mind was spinning. I don't understand. If he's broke, what good is marrying Keisha to Malik? We're broke. Jessica's eyes were full of pity. No, Imani. He's broke. You are not. She clicked a new window. It was a trust document. Your father's trust, Imani. The $2 million inheritance he left you. The one you told me you set aside for Malik. That's Malik's money, I said. Defensive. Not mine. I can't touch it. You can't, Jessica agreed. But Malik can. She highlighted a single clause in the document. A clause I had my own lawyer put in years ago, thinking I was being smart. The principal sum of the trust, she read aloud, is to be transferred to Malik Davis upon his legal marriage. The room went silent. The blood drained from my face. The intimate wedding in the garden. Next weekend. 4 days, Jessica said, read in my mind. 4 days before that loan shark comes to collect. This wasn't a whirlwind romance. This was an ambush. This wasn't an affair. This was a conspiracy. Brenda, Marcus, Keisha. They had been planning this for years. They put Keisha in Malik's path. They manufactured this whole relationship. The baby wasn't the trap. The baby was just the accelerant. My God, Jessie, I whispered, the full, horrifying picture finally clear. They're not just betraying him. They're robbing him. The wedding isn't a wedding. It's a bank heist, she finished. Jessica looked at the calendar on her wall. The date for the wedding next Saturday was circled in red. And we, she said, her voice like steel, have exactly 96 hours to stop it. 96 hours. The words just hung there in Jessica's office, thick and heavy like funeral smoke. What do we do, Jessie? I whispered, my voice sounding like a stranger's. Do we tell him? Do we tell Malik? Jessica stood up and started pacing, her heels clicking hard on the floor. Absolutely not. What? I said, standing up. That's my son. I have to warn him. And say what, Imani? She shot back. Hey, son, your fiancée is your cousin. She's sleeping with your father. And the baby she's carrying is your brother? Her words hit me like a slap. He's in love, she said, her voice a little softer. He's blinded by that baby. He won't believe you. He'll think you're crazy, that you're just trying to ruin his happiness like they already accused you of. He will pick her. She was right. I saw Malik's face in my mind, angry and defensive, accusing me. Ma, why are you making Keisha cry? They'll run off to Vegas, Jessica continued. They'll elope. And the second that marriage certificate is signed, that $2 million is gone. Forever. You'll lose your son and his inheritance. So we call the bank, I pleaded. We stop the transfer. We can't, she said, shaking her head. You wrote that trust yourself, Imani. Upon legal marriage. The bank's hands are tied. They have to honor the document. So what do we do? I screamed, the panic finally breaking through the numbness. We just let it happen? I can't let him marry his cousin. I can't let him raise his father's child. Jessica stopped pacing. She walked right up to me and grabbed my shoulders. "Yes," she said, her voice quiet and deadly serious. "You can, and you will." "Jesse." "No. We let the wedding happen," she said, her eyes locked on mine. "We let them plan. We let them walk down that aisle in your own backyard. We let them stand there, in front of God and everyone." She took a breath, and right before they say "I do," we object. My mind reeled. "Why, Jesse? Why wait? Why the drama?" "Because," she said, "we have to destroy Marcus. Publicly. We have to humiliate him so thoroughly that he has no allies left. We have to make him a pariah. And more important, we need Malik to see the truth. Not hear it from us, but see it." "We have the recordings," I argued. "We have whispers," she countered. "Whispers he can deny. Whispers he'll say you faked 'cause you're a jealous old woman." "No, we need more. We need the final piece." She tapped the printout. "We need Brenda." "Brenda," I whispered. "The weak link." I remembered Keisha's voice on the tape. "My mother. She's scared. She said this is a sin." "Brenda's our leverage," Jessica said. "She's terrified. But she's also greedy. Let's go find out which one is stronger." 1421, Evergreen Terrace. The little blue house I'd been paying the mortgage on for a decade. The house I thought was an empty memorial to my dead mother-in-law. I felt sick. I had housed the very people who were conspiring to destroy my life. I didn't knock. Marcus had given me a spare key years ago, just in case. I guess he forgot. I slid the key into the lock. It turned. We found her in the kitchen, watching some daytime TV show, a half-empty glass of wine on the table. She was older than I expected, her face worn down by a hard life. She looked up. She saw me, and her face, it just crumpled. All the color drained right out of it. "Oh God," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "Imani, you know." "Know what, Brenda?" I said, my voice dead. I was too tired to yell. "Know that my husband's been sleeping with my son's fiancée? Or that she's your daughter? Or that she's his niece?" I took a step closer. "Or that I'm the damn fool who's been paying your mortgage for 10 years? She just sobbed, shaking her head. "He made me. He made me." "I didn't want to," he said. "He said they'd hurt us. The men he owes money to. He said they'd hurt Keisha. So you protect your daughter? By serving her up to my son?" I snapped. "It wasn't just the fear," she cried. I froze. "What?" "It was the money," she admitted, the tears and greed mixing together. Marcus promised us a new life. He promised me." I looked at Jessica. Jessica just nodded, her face grim. "What did he promise you, Brenda?" I asked, my blood running cold. "What was the full plan?" She wouldn't look at me. She just stared at her hands. He promised us a new life," she whispered. "He said, after they pay the loan shark, we'd take the rest of the money. The $2 million. We'd all disappear," she said, her voice getting smaller. "Marcus, me, and Keisha, together." My heart stopped. "What about the baby?" I asked. And then, the final, unthinkable betrayal. And what about Malik?" Brenda finally looked up, her eyes empty. "That was the plan," she whispered. "Leave him. Leave Malik with the baby and an empty bank account. Leave him with the baby and an empty bank account." The words just echoed. They filled that cheap, dusty kitchen till I felt like I was going to choke on them. I looked at this woman, Brenda. This weak, greedy, pathetic woman. She was the root of it all. Jessica stepped forward, her voice cutting through the silence. "Brenda, you have exactly one choice right now." Brenda looked up, her face streaked with tears and cheap mascara. "You can be a witness for us," Jessica said, pointing at me. "Or you can be a defendant with them. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Wire fraud. Incest. I don't think a judge is going to look too kindly on any of it. You'll go to prison for 20 years. Brenda's eyes went wide with a new kind of terror. Not terror of Marcus, terror of the law. I'll help, she stammered, grabbing at Jessica's sleeve. I'll do whatever you say. Please, don't let them send me to prison. Good, Jessica said, pulling her arm away. You're going to call Marcus. You're going to tell him you're scared. Tell him Imani is acting strange. Too nice. Tell him you need reassurance. In person. Jessica's eyes were like chips of ice. And you're going to wear a wire. She turned to me. Imani, this is your part. You go home, and you plan a wedding. What? You become the most doting, excited mother-in-law to be this world has ever seen, Jessica ordered. You approve the flower arrangements. You coo over the baby names. You lull that snake to sleep. You make him feel so safe and arrogant, he won't see the axe coming for his neck. The next 72 hours, they were the hardest performance of my life. I went home, and I acted. Keisha, honey, I called out, my voice dripping with fake sugar. I found the perfect shade of cream rose to match your dress, and I booked that calligrapher you wanted. I watched them, Marcus and Keisha. The relief on their faces was disgusting. They exchanged a look. See? I told you. She's fine. Marcus even had the nerve to pat my arm. That's my girl, Mani. Always focused on the details. He thought I was just a silly woman obsessed with a party. He had no idea I was planning a funeral. His funeral. While I was at home, being the perfect hostess, Jessica was across town. She and a private investigator she'd hired fitted Brenda with a high-fidelity wire hidden right in the clasp of her bra. They sent her into a crowded, noisy coffee shop downtown. The perfect place to make Marcus feel secure. We were in a surveillance van half a block away, listening to every word, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would break my ribs. Brenda was good. Her fear was real. Marcus, I can't, she whispered, her voice shaken. She's being too nice. It ain't natural. She's smiling all the time. She knows, I tell you, she knows. We heard Marcus sigh into the microphone. A sound of pure annoyance. Brenda, shut up. You're gonna blow this whole damn thing. His voice came through, crystal clear. She doesn't know a thing. She's an idiot. She's always been. She's too busy picking out napkins and hors d'oeuvres to see what's right in front of her face. All you gotta do is sit still for 48 more hours. But Marcus, Brenda sobbed, just like Jessica told her to. It's Malik. It's his cousin. It's your baby. There was a long pause. And then, the final nail. The line that would end him. So what? Marcus snapped. It's just a piece of paper. Malik gets a wife, we get the money, and that loan shark gets off my back. Everybody wins. He wasn't done. Now pull it together. In 48 hours, we'll be on a beach in the Caymans. And Malik, well, he chuckled. A dry, cold sound. He'll have a new kid to keep him busy. Jessica hit stop on the recorder. She turned to me. Her face was grim, but her eyes were triumphant. We got him, she said. We got the whole damn thing. I looked at the dashboard clock. 6 p.m., Friday. They're at the church, I whispered. The rehearsal. The dinner is at 8. Jessica looked at me, a cold fire in her eyes. I know, and we're gonna need an audience. She picked up her phone. Yes, this is Jessica Hayes. I need to hire a string quartet for a wedding tomorrow. Yes, and 3 off-duty police officers for security. She hung up and looked at me. It's time to set the stage, Imani. It's time for the rehearsal dinner. The private dining room at the Sovereign was beautiful. I had to give them that. Soft lights, cream roses everywhere. The air smelled like old money and hyacinths. The string quartet Jessica had hired was playing softly in the corner. I was wearing a deep red dress. My war dress. Jessica, looking sharp as a tack in a black pantsuit, was right beside me, introduced as my dearest friend. Marcus and Keisha were at the head of the long, polished table. They were glowing. He was the picture of the proud patriarch, laughing loud, refilling everyone's wine. She was the blushing, pregnant bride, all wide, innocent eyes and soft smiles. Brenda was there, seated in the corner, looking like a scared rabbit. She hadn't looked me in the eye once. The rest of the guests were Keisha's family friends, a few cousins I ain't never seen before. I just saw them as co-conspirators. The champagne flowed. The $200 a bottle, the kind I was paying for. After the appetizer, Marcus stood up, tapping his glass with a fork. "A toast," he boomed, his voice full of fake warmth. He raised his glass to me. "To my incredible wife, Imani." I felt Jessica stiffen beside me. I just smiled. I know we had some concerns about how fast this was moving, he said. Given a little shucks laugh. But her love for this family, her devotion to Malik, and her generosity has just been overwhelming. He looked right at me, his eyes dead, but his smile bright. "Thank you, darling, for putting this all together. It's perfect. You really outdid yourself." People clapped. My own son Malik raised his glass. "To Mom." I wanted to throw up. He was mocking me. He was making me pay for my own execution, and he was enjoying every second of it. I just raised my glass. To family. Then, Keisha stood up. Her hand went to her little belly. "I want to thank you too, Ma," she said, her voice soft and sweet. The word Ma felt like acid in my ear. "You raised the most wonderful, trusting man in Malik." She paused, like she was overcome with emotion. "And you've been such a rock for all of us." She glanced at Marcus, just for a fraction of a second, a shared, secret smile. "I promise," she said, looking back at me, her eyes swimming with fake tears. "I will love your son, and I will take very good care of this entire family. More than you could ever know." More applause. Malik got up and kissed her. Marcus leaned back in his chair, sipping his champagne, looking like the king of the world. This was it. This was their victory lap. They had won. The money was just 48 hours away. Jessica gave me a slight nod. "Showtime." The room quieted down. I stood up slowly. I picked up my water glass, and I picked up the small, black remote for the restaurant's audio-visual system. Jessica had made sure it was patched into my phone. "Thank you, Keisha." That was truly touching. All eyes were on me. Marcus's smile was still frozen in place, but his eyes were suddenly wary. He'd seen this look on me before. He'd just forgotten what it meant. "You're all so generous with your words," I said, my voice clear and steady, not a tremor in it. So I thought I'd share some words, too. I held up the remote. A special audio gift. A little recording I found. A gift. For my husband, Marcus. And for his real family. The room was so quiet, you could hear the ice melting in the glasses. Marcus's smile was gone. It didn't just fade, it shattered. "Imani, what is this?" he hissed, his voice low and dangerous. "This isn't funny. Turn it off. You're embarrassing yourself." Malik looked confused. "Ma? What's going on? What gift?" "Oh, just a little something I recorded. At home. In the study," I said, my voice light. I saw Marcus's eyes widen. He knew. I looked him dead in the eye. "I call this one The Other Plan." And I pressed play. The speakers crackled. First, Keisha's whisper, clear as a bell in the silent room. "Are you sure she ain't suspect nothin'?" Then Marcus's voice, cold and calculated. "It doesn't matter if she suspects. It's too late. The other plan is already in motion." Malik's head snapped toward his father. "Dad? What plan? What is she talking about?" Marcus jumped up from his chair. "It's a joke, Imani. A stupid prank. Turn this off now." "Oh, but the party's just getting started," I said, pressing the next button. "Let's hear this next track. This one is from your sister, Brenda." From the corner of the room, Brenda let out a little whimper. Her voice, shaken and tinny, filled the air. "It's Malik. It's his cousin. It's your baby." A woman at the next table gasped. Malik stumbled back like he'd been shot. "Cousin." Keisha started to sob. "No, Malik. Let me explain. It's not." "Not what?" I said, my voice ringing out. "Let's listen, because this last track, this is my favorite. This is the one that really shows what a family man you are, Marcus." And then, his voice, chuckling. So what? It's just a piece of paper. Malik gets a wife, we get the money, and that loan shark gets off my back. Everybody wins. A Pause. He'll be so proud. He'll never know he's just raising my son. Silence. Absolute deafening silence. The recording clicked off. I picked up my water glass. So, to recap, I said, my voice the only sound in the room. My husband is having a baby with his niece. My son was about to marry his first cousin, all so they could steal his $2 million inheritance to pay off your gambling debts, Marcus. It was Keisha who broke first. No, she shrieked, jumping up, her chair crashing to the floor. It's not true. He made me. He said he'd hurt my mother. From the corner, Brenda screamed back. You liar! You came to me with the plan. You said you were tired of being poor. Marcus wasn't looking at them. He was staring at me. His face was purple with a rage I'd never seen before. You bitch, he snarled. You recorded me. But no one was listening to him. No one was looking at the women screaming. All eyes were on my son. Malik hadn't moved. He was just frozen. His face was a grayish, ashen color. He turned his head, his movements slow, robotic. He looked at Keisha's belly. Then he looked at his father. He took one slow step, then another. His hands were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. Tell me, he whispered, his voice shaken with a rage so deep it was terrifying. Tell me it's a lie. All the air left the room. Malik stood there, shaken, his eyes locked on his father. Son, listen to me, Marcus said, his voice slick, trying to regain control. Your mother is. She's unstable. She's upset. She's faking this. It's deep fake audio. Unstable? Malik's voice was low, guttural. It didn't even sound like him. She's unstable? He roared, taking a step closer. You slept with my fiancée. He jabbed a finger toward Keisha. My cousin. He turned back to Marcus, his face broken. You put your own child in her belly. His voice cracked, the agony raw. And you were gonna let me? You were gonna let me raise him? And steal from me? He looked at Marcus with a lifetime of love just curdling into pure hate. You're not my father, he whispered. You're a monster. Then he turned to Keisha. She was huddled on the floor, sobbing. I loved you, he whispered. And that one whisper was louder than all the screaming. I was going to give you my life. Was any of it real? Keisha just choked out the one word that mattered. The money. That was it. The fight just evaporated out of my son. He sank into the nearest chair, put his face in his hands, and just broke. The room was silent, save for his sobs. Jessica stepped forward into the silence. Marcus, she said, her voice sharp, I believe this is for you. She slid a thick, white envelope across the polished table. He opened it, his hands shaken. A divorce filing. He actually scoffed. Even now. You're divorcing me? He spat. You'll get nothing, Imani. I'll bury you in court. You won't, I said. My voice was calm. Jessica handed him a second file. This, she said, is the prenup you signed 25 years ago. The one your lawyer drafted. The one that states all premarital assets, and any business funded by those assets, remain the sole property of the original owner. Marcus's face went slack. The inheritance. My inheritance, I said, stepping forward. Which means Davis and Associates was never your firm, Marcus. It was mine. And as of 9 a.m. tomorrow, you're fired. He looked like I'd hit him. And the house, Jessica added, her voice like glass, is also in my client's name. You have 24 hours to get your things. He was sputtering. You can't. I'll sue you for. The doors to the private room swung open. The 3 officers Jessica had hired for security stepped in. They weren't just security anymore. Marcus Davis? One officer said, his voice booming. Marcus spun around. What? Who are you? You can't be here. This is a private party. Jessica held up the small, silver digital recorder. He's all yours, officers. Sir, You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and solicitation of incest." The officers grabbed his arms, and he broke. He started screaming, thrashing like a wild animal. "Imani, you will pay for this! You bitch! I'll kill you!" Keisha was screaming, "Don't take him! It was her! She set us up!" Brenda was just rocking back and forth in her chair, moaning. They dragged him out, his threats echoing down the hall. The room was finally, blessedly quiet. And then, a new sound. Buzz, buzz. Marcus's cell phone. He'd left it on the table in the chaos. The screen lit up. The caller ID just said, "Atlantic." Buzz, buzz. The phone kept vibrating on the table. A black spider in the middle of all that white linen. "Atlantic." Jessica put her hand on my arm. "Don't touch it." Malik was still sitting in the chair, his head in his hands, his shoulders shaken. He was destroyed. He hadn't even looked up when they dragged his father away. An officer, the one Jessica had hired, cleared his throat. He was looking at Keisha and Brenda, who were huddled by the door. "Ma'am," he said to me, "what are your instructions? We can hold Miss Taylor and her mother on conspiracy charges, accessory to fraud." I looked at them. Brenda, a weak, pathetic fool, and Keisha, her face streaked with tears and hate. I was so tired. I just wanted them gone. The phone stopped ringing. A second later, the screen lit up again. A text message. We could all read it. "You missed the call, Marcus. Bad move. The wedding is tomorrow. We'll be there to collect 10 a.m., $500K, or we collect your son instead." My blood turned to ice. Malik's head snapped up. His voice was hoarse. "Collect? Me?" Jessica looked at me, her eyes wide with a new kind of fear. "Imani, this just went from fraud to a kidnapping threat. They were gonna sell me?" Malik whispered, standing up. The shock was breaking through his grief, replacing it with a new, cold terror. "No, baby," I said, my mind racing. "They were gonna pay them, with your money. But now the wedding is off. The money isn't coming. So they're coming for you." Suddenly, Keisha started to laugh. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was a high-pitched, hysterical, broken sound. "You idiots!" she shrieked, her voice cracking. "You think you won?" We all turned and stared at her. "You just arrested the only man who could talk to them," she screamed. "They aren't just loan sharks, they're the Atlantic Syndicate. They don't care about lawyers or cops. They will walk into your house, and they will take him. And they will kill anyone who gets in their way." I stared at her. You knew? You knew who they were?" "Of course I knew," she spat, tears of rage running down her face. "That's why I did it. You think I wanted to be with him?" She pointed to the door where Marcus had been dragged out. "He's disgusting." "But they had my mother. They had me. They threatened to kill us both if I didn't get that money. It was this. Or we were both dead." Malik was staring at her, his face a mask of confusion. You were a victim?" "I was a survivor," she hissed. "And you and your righteous mother. You just signed our death warrants." She looked at the clock on the wall. "They'll be at the house tomorrow, 10 a.m. Good luck." As if on cue, Jessica's phone rang. She answered it, her face all business. "Hayes." I watched her listen. I watched the blood drain from her face. She hung up the phone. "Imani," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "That was my contact at the precinct. Marcus just made bail." I stumbled back. "Bail? How?" I froze everything. Keisha let out another one of those terrible laughs. "Plan C, you fool. He always had a hidden account. He's out. And now he's not just bankrupt. He's furious. And the sharks are coming." The officer looked at Jessica, then at me. "Ma'am, what do you want me to do with Miss Taylor and her mother?" I looked at Keisha. I hated her. I hated her for the lies, for the betrayal, for the baby in her belly. But she was the only one who knew what these people looked like. She was the only one who knew what they were capable of. Let them go, I said. The officer was stunned. Ma'am? Jessica grabbed my arm. Imani, no. She's a flight risk. She's more valuable out, I said. I walked right up to Keisha, who was still on the floor, looking up at me with defiant, terrified eyes. You're free to go, I said, my voice cold as stone. But if you want to live, if you want that baby to live, you'll come home with me, and you will tell me everything. The ride home was a funeral procession. Me, Jessica, and Malik in my car. Keisha and her mother, Brenda, in Jessica's car right behind us, escorted by the 2 officers we'd hired. No one spoke. The only sound was Malik, his breathing ragged, a single tear rolling down his cheek every few minutes. We pulled into my driveway. The house, my house, the one that was supposed to be decorated for a wedding tomorrow, just looked dark, ominous. We all filed into the kitchen. It was 11 p.m. The rehearsal dinner was over. The war was just beginning. I made coffee. My hands were shaken so bad, the ground spilled all over the counter. I put a mug down in front of Keisha. She was huddled at the kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket, looking small and pathetic. Brenda was sitting next to her, just staring into space. Talk, I said. Keisha flinched. She looked up. All the fake sweetness gone. All the fight was gone too. She was just scared. They're not just sharks, she whispered, her voice hoarse. Marcus met them in Atlantic City, a private game. He lost. He kept chasing it. Their syndicate. She looked at me, her eyes dead. They don't just break knees. Imani. They disappear people. Their wives, their kids. She confirmed the whole sick plan. How Marcus, desperate, had used his own sister Brenda to find a sweet, controllable girl. How they'd put Keisha right in Malik's path at college. How they'd manufactured this whole relationship. He promised us a new life, Brenda mumbled, he said. We'd all be safe. Malik, who'd been silent, finally spoke. His voice was raw. And the baby? My brother? Keisha wouldn't look at him. He was my ticket out. He was. He was the proof that I was family. Then she looked up, her eyes filling with a new dark light. You think you know him? You think any of us knew him? What are you talking about? I asked. He wasn't just going to leave you, Malik, she said, her voice cracking. He was going to bury you. Malik stiffened. What? The law firm, she said. The fraud. The money he stole from clients? He was funneling it through an account. An account he set up in your name. He was going to leave you to take the fall for everything. I felt the blood drain from my face. It wasn't just abandonment. It was a frame-up. He was going to steal his son's inheritance, and then send him to prison for his own crimes. Jessica, who'd been on the phone in the corner, hung up. All right, it's 2 a.m. We have 8 hours. She was all business. Imani, call your bank's 24-hour fraud line, now. Put a hard freeze on every asset, the house, the accounts, and especially Malik's trust. Code red. No withdrawals, no transfers, nothing. What good does that do? I said, my voice shaken. The sharks want cash. They're coming here. It's not for the sharks, Jessica said, her eyes hard. It's for Marcus. He's out. He's desperate. And he's a cornered animal. He's gonna try to get that money tonight. She turned to Keisha. You're gonna call him. Keisha recoiled. No, he'll kill me. He knows I ratted him out. He doesn't know what you did, I said, my voice firm. He just knows I had tapes. He thinks you're just a scared kid. I pushed the phone toward her. You're gonna call. You're gonna cry. Tell him you escaped me and Jessica. Tell him you're scared, that you still love him, that you want to meet. Tell him. Tell him you have a plan to get the money. Keisha's hand was shaken so bad she could barely hold the phone. She dialed. It rang. Straight to voicemail. She took a shaky breath and left the message, her voice a perfect performance of terror and devotion. Marcus? Baby? Oh my God, it was horrible. I I got away. Please, call me. I think I know a way to fix this. We sat there. In the kitchen. 4 a.m. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica, who was on her laptop. Bank confirmed. Someone just tried to access the trust with Malik's credentials. The freeze is holding. He's trying. Marcus was out there. And he was trying to get the money. Then, Keisha's phone lit up. A text from Marcus. We all leaned in. Knew you wouldn't betray me. They're coming at 10. I need to pay them. I have a new plan to liquidate the trust, but I need Malik. Get him to the law office, 9 a.m., alone. Malik read the text, and his face. It changed. The grief was gone, replaced by a cold, hard focus I'd never seen. He's not running, Malik said, his voice flat. He's going to use me, as a hostage, to trade me to the sharks. I looked at Jessica. I looked at my son. Okay, I said. He wants you at the office at 9? I took a deep breath. He'll get you, but you won't be alone. The next 8 hours were the longest of my life. My kitchen, the place I'd baked birthday cakes and hosted Thanksgiving dinners, had become a war room. By 7 a.m., the sun was coming up. It was Saturday, my wedding day. Jessica was at the table, laptop open, on the phone with the police fraud department, coordinating a sting operation. Yes, that's correct, she was saying. Mr. Davis will be attempting to coerce his son into signing over a $2 million trust under duress. Yes, at the law office, 9 a.m. sharp. Malik sat across from her, his face pale, but his eyes hard. He was wearing the wire. I handed him a cup of coffee. Our hands touched. His was cold as ice. Ma, he said, his voice low. What if he has a gun? He won't, I said, my voice firmer than I felt. He's arrogant, not stupid. He thinks you're just a kid he can bully. You go in, you get him to admit what he wants the money for, and you get out. The police will be right outside. Jessica looked at Keisha, who was huddled on the sofa with her mother, Brenda. You two, you stay here. You don't answer the door. You don't call anyone. You just wait. Keisha just nodded, her eyes wide with terror. At 8:45 a.m., we were in position. Malik drove his own car, just like Marcus told him to. We were 2 cars back, Jessica, me, and a team of plainclothes detectives in an unmarked van. The streets were quiet. Too quiet. He's here, Jessica whispered, pointing. Marcus's black Mercedes was parked in his reserved spot. He was already inside, waiting. My heart was pounding against my ribs so hard I thought it would break. Malik got out of his car. He looked back at us, just once. I gave him a small, tight nod. He walked into that building, into the lion's den. Jessica put her hand on my arm. We're on, Imani. We're live. She had the receiver. We heard the static, then the sound of Malik's footsteps, the click of the office door opening, and then his voice. My husband's voice. You're late. I had to sneak out, Malik said, his voice shaken just enough to be believable. Ma and Jessica. They're crazy. They took my phone. They're fools, we heard Marcus snap. We heard papers shuffling. It doesn't matter. We gotta move fast. Here. A pause. What is it? Malik asked. It's a power of attorney, Marcus said, his voice impatient. It gives me temporary control of the trust. Just sign it, son. I'll pay these men. I'll make this all go away. We can fix this. Be a family again. Family? Malik's voice was dead. You mean the family you were going to frame for your own crimes? Dead silence. Who told you that? Marcus's voice changed. The fake warmth was gone. It was cold, vicious. It doesn't matter who told me, Malik said, his voice getting stronger. I'm not signing a damn thing. You little fool, Marcus roared. We heard a scuffle. A chair being knocked over. You're going to get us both killed. I'm not asking you. He threatened him. Jessica said into her own mic. He's hostile. Move in. Move in now. We heard the doors of the building burst open. We heard the plainclothes cops shoutin', "Police! Hands up, Marcus! Get on the floor!" "No! You set me up!" Marcus screamed, a sound of pure animal rage. "Malik! You set up your father!" We ran in, me and Jessica. The scene was chaos. Cops were cuffing Marcus, pushing him face down onto the very desk Keisha had been sitting on. Malik was safe, pale and shaken in the corner, but he was safe. I sagged against the doorframe, the relief so strong my knees buckled. It was over. We got him. Marcus was thrashing against the cuffs. He looked up, his face purple. He saw me, and he started to laugh. It was not a human sound. It was a dry, terrifying cackle. You really think this is over?" He spat, his eyes wide and insane. "You think they care about these little toy cops? You think they care about fraud?" He twisted his head, looking at the clock on his wall. "It's 9:45 a.m., he sneered. He looked right at me, a look of pure, demonic triumph. "They're not coming here, Imani. They're at the house, where you live. And you just sent all your cops. Here." My blood ran cold. I grabbed my phone. 23 missed calls. All from Brenda. 9:46 a.m. Jessica's voice was a low hiss. "We have 14 minutes. All hell broke loose." "Leave him!" Jessica yelled to the cops, who were busy with a thrashing, screaming Marcus. "We have an active threat at the house." We didn't wait. Me, Jessica, and Malik. We sprinted out of that office, leaving the sirens and the chaos behind us. We piled into Jessica's car. She drove like a bat out of hell, tearing through red lights, one hand on the horn, the other dialing 911. "This is Hayes," she barked into the phone. "I have an active hostage situation at 1245 Willow Creek. My clients are under threat. Armed men. Send backup. Send everyone. Now." She was lying about the hostage part. Or maybe she wasn't. I was in the passenger seat, my hands shaking so bad I could barely dial. I called Brenda's cell. Straight to voicemail. I called my house line. It just rang and rang and rang. "They're not picking up, Jessie. We're 3 minutes out. Hold on, Imani." My neighborhood, my quiet, tree-lined street, looked normal. That was the most terrifying part. Until we saw it. A black, windowless cargo van parked across the street. And my front door. It was wide open. "No!" Malik screamed from the back seat. Before the car even stopped, he was out, bolting across the lawn. "Malik, wait! Don't!" But he was already through the door. We were right behind him. We skidded to a stop in my own living room. It was a nightmare tableau. 2 men. Big men. They looked like they'd walked straight out of a mob movie. One of them was holding Keisha by the arm. She was on the floor, crying, her hands bound with a zip tie. The other man, the leader, was sitting in my armchair, calmly, sipping a glass of my 20-year-old bourbon. And then I saw Brenda. She was by the fireplace, sobbing hysterically. A third, smaller man holding a gun right to her temple. Well, the leader said, his voice smooth as gravel. He didn't even stand up. "Look who finally decided to show up. Mrs. Davis, you're late." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "And you're not Marcus." "Let them go," Malik said, his voice shaken as he stepped in front of me. The leader, Atlantic, just chuckled. "I wouldn't, son. Your father owes me $500,000. He said he'd have it by 10 a.m. It's 10:03. Marcus isn't here," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He's been arrested." Atlantic sighed, like I just told him. The weather was bad. "Arrested? That's unfortunate. For him and for you." He took a sip of bourbon. "The debt is still due." He lied to you," I stammered, my mind racing. We don't have it. The accounts are frozen." Atlantic's smile finally faded. "Mrs. Davis, I don't think you understand. Your husband was very thorough. He said you'd be difficult. He said you'd try to hide the money. But he left us. Collateral. My heart stopped. I looked at Malik. He left you. Him? Atlantic laughed. A real booming laugh. The boy? He's worthless. No, he left us her. He nodded at Keisha. My blood ran cold. He traded you? His lover? The mother of his child? Keisha looked up, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. He told them to come here. He said if he wasn't here, to take me. He called me insurance. Atlantic stood up. It's simple. You have 1 hour to unfreeze those accounts. You transfer the $500K, or I take the girl. And just to be clear, I won't be returning her. We can't, Jessica said, stepping forward, her voice all lawyer. The accounts are locked by a federal warrant. Fraud. It's impossible. Atlantic stared at her for a long second. Brenda, he said, his voice quiet, you did good. I froze. What? Brenda. She stopped crying. Instantly, she wiped her eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped away from the gunman, who lowered his weapon. I'm sorry, Imani, she said, her voice completely calm. But he offered me a better deal. I just stared at her. The 23 missed calls. You called them? I whispered. Atlantic smiled. You've been playing chess with the wrong people, Mrs. Davis. Marcus set you up. But Brenda set him up. She called us last night, he said, enjoying this. Told us Marcus was trying to play us all. Told us where the real money was. Your son's trust. She said you'd freeze it. Brenda looked at me, her eyes as cold as a snake's. They promised me 10%. Just give them the money, Imani. It's over. The 23 missed calls. They weren't calls for help. They were her, bragging. Atlantic looked at Jessica. The accounts are really frozen? Rock solid, Jessica confirmed, her face pale. Okay. Atlantic shrugged, as if deciding on dinner. New plan. He raised his gun. He didn't point it at Keisha. He didn't point it at Malik. He pointed it right at my head. I guess we'll just have to unfreeze them. Call your bank, Mrs. Davis, or your son gets to watch you die. The barrel of the gun was cold against my temple. I could smell the bourbon on Atlantic's breath. He was too close. Call. Now, he hissed. My hands were shaken. I slowly, so slowly, reached into my pocket for my phone. Okay, I whispered. Okay, just don't hurt him. Don't hurt my son. I'll call the bank. I'll tell them. I was stalling. My mind was screaming. Think, Imani, think. Malik saw the gun. He saw my terror. Wait, he yelled. Atlantic's head snapped toward him. Shut the boy up. No! Wait, Malik said, his voice desperate. The money. It's not just the trust. Marcus, he kept cash. A lot of it. For them. He was scared of you. Atlantic hesitated. The gun stayed on me, but his eyes flickered. Cash? Where? Brenda's head shot up. Her greed. It was stronger than her fear. He's right, she said, her voice eager. The office. He said he had a safe in the wall. Behind the painting. He told me the combination. It's my birthday. 0819. She was trying to prove her worth to him. Atlantic smiled. He wanted the easy cash first. Milo, he said to the gunman holding Brenda. Go with her. Check it. If she's lying, shoot her. He looked back at me. You're still calling the bank. I want it all. The gunman, Milo, shoved Brenda toward the study. Move. This was it. The moment. The team was split. As I fumbled with my phone, pretending to unlock it, a new sound. Click, click, click. It wasn't a gun, it was the front door, the deadbolt. A voice, calm and amplified by a bullhorn, boomed through the house. It wasn't the police, it was better. Atlantic Syndicate. This is the FBI. The house is surrounded. Drop your weapons. Now, Atlantic's face, for the first time, it wasn't calm. It was pure, unfiltered rage. He grabbed me, pulling me up out of the chair, his arm like a steel bar around my neck, the gun jammed hard into my ribs. "I'll kill her!" he screamed toward the hallway. "I'll kill her! I swear to God!" Milo came running back from the study, grabbing Brenda, using her as a shield. My living room was a hostage scene. "I wouldn't do that," Jessica's voice called out, clear and calm from the hallway. "Unless you want another 20 years for killing a federal witness." Atlantic froze. What did you say?" she said. A new male voice said, as two tactical agents in full gear stepped into the room, their weapons trained. "That the woman you're holding has been a federal witness for 12 hours. I looked at Jessica, who was standing right behind them. Atlantic looked at me, confused. "Her? She's nobody." "Not her," Jessica said, stepping into the light. Brenda's jaw dropped. "What? No? I was?" "The wire, Brenda," Jessica said, almost sadly. "The one you wore to the coffee shop? You thought it was for us?" Jessica looked at Atlantic. "It's been live streaming to an FBI server for 3 days. We heard your threats. We heard your confession. We heard you plan this meet. This house," Jessica said, her voice triumphant, "has been a federal sting operation since 4 a.m. We let you walk in. The setup wasn't Marcus's. It was Jessica's." Atlantic looked at me. He looked at the agents. He looked at the gun in his hand. He dropped it. "It was her," Brenda shrieked, pointing at me. She framed me." "We have you on tape, Brenda," the agent said, cuffing her. "Conspiracy, aiding and abetting. You're not getting 10%, you're getting 20 to life." They dragged her out, still screaming. It was over. Malik rushed to me, pulling me into his arms, his whole body shaken. Ma, you're okay." I just held him. I held my son. The room was filled with agents. They were cutting Keisha's ties, reading her rights. It was finally quiet. And then, a new sound. A low, guttural moan. We both turned. Keisha was on the floor, her hands not on her ties, but clutched tight to her belly. Her face was pale, slick with a new kind of sweat. "Wait," she whispered, her eyes wide with a pain that had nothing to do with Marcus or the money. "Oh, God. No, not now." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a fresh, primal terror. "Imani, the baby. The baby is coming. Now." My living room, filled with FBI agents and paramedics that Jessica had called. And Keisha, right in the middle of my Persian rug, the one I'd bought with my money, screaming, her body twisting in pain. Malik was frozen, his face a mask of horror. He was staring at her belly, staring at his brother. "Ma'am, we need to clear the scene," one of the agents said, trying to guide me out. I looked at that girl, the snake, the liar, the one who had conspired to ruin my son. And I saw just a child, a terrified, stupid, 9-year-old child in a world of pain. I took a deep breath. The rage was gone. All I felt was a cold, weary finality. "Jessica, make sure the ambulance is coming," I ordered, my voice firm. "Malik, go to the linen closet. Get the clean towels. Now." They both snapped out of their shock and moved. I knelt on the floor next to her. Keisha looked up at me, her eyes wild with pain and fear. I. "Be quiet, Keisha," I said, my voice not unkind, just tired. "Just breathe. You betrayed my son. You tried to destroy my family. But I will not let a child be born on a cold floor." 6 months later, the smell of garlic, thyme, and slow-roasted short ribs filled the air. It wasn't my old kitchen. It was a new one, a better one. Sunlight streamed through the big picture window, glinting off the new steel counters. Above the door, a simple wooden sign read, "Imani's Kitchen." I was in a chef's coat, my hands covered in flour. I was humming. Malik was at the corner table, a laptop open, going over invoices. He looked lighter. The shadows under his eyes were gone. He was healing. Jessica walked in, not in a power suit, but in jeans. She dropped a thick file on his table. "It's done," she said, sliding into the booth. Malik looked up. "All of it?" "All of it," she confirmed, taking the sweet tea I handed her. Marcus took the plea, 25 years. The evidence was overwhelming. Wire fraud, conspiracy, incest. He'll be an old man before he sees sunlight. Brenda got 10, Jessica continued. Accessory to everything. And Atlantic and his crew. The feds are hitting them with RICO. They're gone for good. I wiped my hands on my apron. And Keisha? Malik tensed. It was the one name that still hurt. "She testified against all of them," Jessica said softly. "For her cooperation, she got 3 years, with parole in 18 months. And the baby?" Malik asked, his voice quiet. "A boy. Healthy," Jessica said. He's in state custody. He'll be adopted." I remembered that night in the hospital. I'd walked into her room, an officer by the door. "Please, Imani," she'd whispered. You have to take him. He's your family." I looked at that baby in the bassinet. He had Marcus's eyes. "No, Keisha," I'd told her. "He's Marcus's son. My family is the son you tried to destroy. You made your choice. Now live with it." That was the last time I ever saw her. Now, in my restaurant, Malik looked up from the invoices. He looked at me, a real, genuine smile spreading across his face. "Smells amazing, Ma." He got up, came behind the counter, and started chopping onions, right alongside me. I looked around my kitchen. It wasn't the $2 million trust. We'd used that, what was left of it, to pay back the clients Marcus had stolen from. This restaurant, I'd built with a small business loan, with my name, my credit. I spent 25 years of my life building a temple for a man who saw me as an asset. I lost my house. I lost my marriage. But I found myself. I learned that sometimes the only way to save your family is to tear it all down and start over. And this time, I was building it for me. Imani's story was intense. What do you rate it, 0 to 10? Drop your score in the comments. Life throws curveballs, and we know many of you have dealt with tough times and betrayal. If you're up for it, share your own story of resilience in the comments. We're all ears, and your experience could help someone else.